We're living during a period of miracles. In the next 10 years, 2025 to 2035, we're going to see as much progress in that decade as we saw between 1925 and 2025. This emergence of exponential technologies are going to change everything, and it's going to enable us to solve the world's biggest problems. This is the most exciting time to be alive.
What drives a man to push the boundaries of what's possible? Peter H. Diamandis is a pioneer of the future, launching the XPRIZE to make private space travel possible, and co-founding the Singularity University to shape the leaders of tomorrow. He is pushing the limits of our health span through FountainLife and Human Longevity Inc. What's the biggest misconception about the future? What if reality isn't what it seems? Could we be living in a simulation? Peter has devoted his life to predict what's next. And what's coming will shock you.
There are two important days in your life: the day you were born and the day that you found out why. When I go to top universities, I ask the kids, how many of you here know your purpose in life? Only a third of them did. I was shocked. Your mission is to find your massive transformative purpose. Because once you know that, it drives you in an incredible way. How do we add decades onto a person's health so that you've got the energy at 100 that you had in your 40s or 50s? It's amazing. It's an explosion. I mean, there's no greater wealth than your health. It's $1 trillion marketplace, so a lot of money is flowing into this market. The best AI doctors in the future will be free. This information will be accessible at minimal cost to everyone.
Hello, welcome to the HumanWare project. Today we are in Santa Monica, USA. We are very honored to have our guest, Peter Diamandis. What I really enjoy about today's episode, apart from his great success of creating so many companies and being a great entrepreneur, is the thought and the mindset behind it. Please stay tuned to watch this upcoming episode. I believe you'll find something valuable in it. Also, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Méline. A pleasure to be here.
Clearly, our team already know about what you do, but when we dig deep into what you really do, we are wildly shocked when we look into the closer details, how much you have done in your life and how much energy you seem to have. Our channel is deep believer that you should take control of your life, and you have mentioned that we should all be CEO of our own health and our own destiny. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course. So one of the things that I deeply believe is that this is the most exciting time to be alive. We're living during a period of miracles, not just AI and humanoid robotics, but breakthroughs in longevity are enabling us to live a longer, healthier life. Today, the numbers in the United States are average lifespan takes you to 78, 79, but health span, how long you're healthy, is 63. I'm 63 today, but I feel like I'm in the healthiest I've ever been. I am working towards a goal of how do we add decades onto a person's health so that you've got the energy, the vitality, the aesthetics, the cognition at 100 that you had when you were in your 40s or 50s. That's what I would love to see, and that's what I'm working towards. Because I think this is a very unique period. This is a period of what I call the health span revolution, where medicine is not the way it always was, and it's changing so rapidly and getting so much better that your goal is to stay in the best health you can to intercept these breakthroughs.
So when you talk about, you see in the next decade, there will be more changes than what happened for the last 100 years.
Yes.
From the health and the lifespan perspective, what do you see could be changed, and what are our current stage, and to next stage, what will be look like?
So I went to medical school in the 80s. I was in a joint MIT-Harvard program, and it tried to include technology in that program, but it was still very archaic. You know, it's still the stethoscope and the normal physical exam. But the fact of the matter is we are a collection of 40 trillion human cells. And every one of those cells is running between like 1 to 10 billion chemical reactions per second. And there's no way for a human physician to understand the full scope of what's going on. But the combination of new sensors, new diagnostic technologies, and AI can enable us to understand why we age, how to slow it, how to stop it, potentially reverse it. And so that's the world that we're living in today. I've built a number of companies to help people. FountainLife is one of them that you know. I'm in the midst of running a $101 million health span XPRIZE that's asking teams to deliver a therapy within 1 year that can extend your health of your brain, your immune system, your muscles, make you 20 years younger in those areas. And it's amazing. It's an explosion. I mean, there's no greater wealth than your health. It's $1 trillion marketplace. So a lot of money and intelligence and technologies flowing into this market.
Yeah, I totally see your perspective, especially getting more and more into the preventative healthcare sector. I realized there has a beautiful analogy I heard. It's think about 30 years ago, there has a lot of car breakdown in the middle of the road. That's why sometimes I'll have a spare tire in the back. But now I barely see it anymore. They said the reason is the detective system is getting better.
Yeah.
And as us, we deeply believe our body, just like software combined with hardware, like the hardware could be physiology, software could be our mindset, right?
Yes.
To be able to take control of our life and then finding what's going on before it's even happened.
But let me hit what you said first about your mindset and the software. One of the most important things in the blogs I write, the podcasts, the books, my mission is to help people create a longevity mindset. And so what is a longevity mindset? If you believe that over the next 10 years, we're going to have these incredible breakthroughs that are going to give you the vitality, the energy, the youthfulness for additional decades, you need to stay in good health to intercept those breakthroughs. Then a longevity mindset says, listen, I see the data, I believe this is where we're going, and I'm going to do the best I can to keep in great health. If you don't believe that, we have these breakthroughs coming, then you're going to have that piece of chocolate cake. You're going to stay in bed instead of going to the gym. You're going to do things that feel good in the moment but are not healthy for you in the long term. And the only reason that you make those trades against near-term pleasure versus long-term benefits is because cognitively your mindset says, okay, this is coming. I want to be part of it. I don't want to miss the health span revolution. So that's the first part. The second part, and I write about this in my last book, Longevity Guidebook, there was a study done, reported in the National Academy of Sciences, which was very powerful. It looked at 69,000 women and about 1,500 guys. It was corrected for age and socioeconomic factors. And it said, listen, if you're an optimist, you have a 15% increased life expectancy, right? So optimists live longer. I find that amazing. And I think optimists have much more to look forward to. Your mindset really impacts that. So the very first thing you can do today in listening to our conversation is change the way you see the future. Be optimistic about it. Be excited about it. A friend of mine, Dan Sullivan, says, have a future that's bigger than your past. If you're looking forward to life, right, one of the greatest things you can do is, like, what would you do with an extra 20 or 30 years? You need to have a reason for that. Seeing your kids become grandkids and great-grandkids and being able to make your biggest dreams come true. So having a future bigger than your past. One of the areas I also focused on, Méline, that we talked about, you mentioned, is FountainLife. I went through medical school. I've hired the best doctors over the years. These concierge doctors, I would be spending $20,000 plus per year. And the medical industry is a very old industry. They don't change. It's just much easier to do what you did last year or 10 years ago or what you did in medical school 20 or 30 years ago. I wanted to build a company that was bringing the most advanced diagnostics and therapeutics. So along with Tony Robbins and Bill Kapp, we built a company called FountainLife. We have 4 centers at this moment. We have 3 new centers coming online and a plan for 25 centers around the world. And these are 6,000 to 10,000 square foot facilities. You come in, you give us 4 hours of your time, and we upload you, we digitize you, we collect 200 gigabytes of data about you. What does that mean? First of all, it's your full genome, all 3.2 billion letters from your mom and your dad, to understand genetically what you're dealt as cards. We'll come back to that because your genome only represents a small potential of your life expectancy. We do a full body MRI, brain vasculature, your full body, looking for aneurysms, looking for cancers, looking for any issues that you might have. We do a coronary CT looking for soft plaque, DEXA scan, retinal scan, skin, microbiome. It's everything noble about you. It's 200 gigabytes of data. And there's no human that can understand all that data, but we feed that data into AI as part of the Fountain platform. So we have a incredible FountainLife AI system that all of your data is in the app. So on my phone, I've got all of my data, and I have an AI right now trained on my data where I can ask it any questions about, what were my latest blood results and how did they change over time, and, what medicines should I change. Long story short, FountainLife has two parts. One is the full diagnostics, and the goal there is to answer two questions. Is there anything going on inside my body I need to know about right now? The second one is what's likely to happen to me and how do I optimize myself? So on the first part, the results are pretty shocking. On the order of 3.5% of people have a cancer they don't know about. Oh. Yeah, 2.5% have an aneurysm they don't know about. 14.4% have either cardiovascular disease, metabolic disease, neurodegenerative disease. And people say, I don't want to know. I said, no, you're going to find out eventually. Do you want to find out now, early, we can do something, or when it's too late? So that's the diagnostics. I call it not dying from something stupid.
Actually, I want to second that because I'm not come from a medical background and I always feeling healthy. So my original thought is almost like this kind of cognitive fatigue to think about. I need to think about my health because we all have this kind of sense fear of failure and death.
Yeah.
But then the mindset is very important and also what you feed into your mind.
Yes.
I'm feeling really, really grateful to keep hanging out with someone like you or Tony Robbins and stay in the community that everybody's really care about their health and their mindset so slowly because of proximity is power and
Yes.
slowly to look into it. It feels so helpless at the beginning. There have so many information and I tried so many things throughout the year. Some work, some I feel like why spending so much time, money could end up causing damage because I don't know enough information.
Yeah.
So what I love about FountainLife is it comes from someone like yourself. You are the chief guinea pig of your company.
Yes.
Because I know you are very go deep in your due diligence and talk to the scientists, you invest in them. So I see how FountainLife in the end is like a curation, right? But where do I look? Who do I trust? But if someone can simplify those information into one place, I really feel that gives a lot of relief to you don't have to look, in a way. You still need to take care of those
That's
things.
the goal. I wanted, both Tony and myself wanted to build a platform that is looking around the world for the best diagnostics and the best therapeutics and then testing them and making sure that they're safe and then bringing them in. And that's what we've built. We have an incredible army of some of the most brilliant functional medicine physicians who support this. I put all my family members through FountainLife. I put the CEOs of my companies through FountainLife because I care about their health, right? Why wouldn't you? It isn't cheap. The FountainLife Apex membership is like $20,000 a year, but it's not just the upload. You also get a medical team that follows you through the year. You get a functional medicine concierge doctor, you get a functional nurse, you get a dietitian, a health coach that works with you through the year. That's called the Apex membership. We created a core membership that we are going through companies that's down at $6,500 a month. And then a lot of what I've learned, I just put into my book, Longevity Guidebook, which is you go to longevityguidebook.com and I think it's $12. It's half the price of Amazon. And it's what you need to do around longevity diet, sleep, exercise, mindset, medications and supplements. There's an entire chapter on women's health. My goal is to get the information out there. So at whatever level someone can afford, It's taking control of your own health, becoming the CEO of your own health, I think is very important.
Can you tell us what are the benefits if we upload our information somewhere nowadays? Because as you said, the technology will improve over years. Can you tell our audience for the people don't think about it yet?
Yeah, so I have been going through a FountainLife upload now for the past 5-6 years. I wouldn't skip a year. And throughout the year, I'm constantly doing, at least on a quarterly basis, sometimes monthly, I'm doing additional blood tests. Just before we record this, I had my phlebotomist outside drawing blood from me because I'm measuring everything all the time. I'm doing that to learn and then to be able to educate others. On my phone, on the FountainLife app, I've got all of my data, and I can go to my data here, and it's all listed over the course of years, and I can look at how it's modified. Like if I take a new supplement or medicine, how is it changing it? But more importantly, I can ask my AI, and we're using, I think, Sonnet 3.7, Anthropic's AI, to gather all the data and then being able to analyze it and make it user-friendly for you. What supplement should I be taking to reduce this? Or how has this changed as my exercise routine has changed? So it's an exciting time. I think in the next couple of years, you'll have an AI health coach that you can turn it on. It will say, Méline, listen, for lunch today, I ordered you this because this is what you need right now. Or don't take the escalator, take the stairs. And you can start to have this technology help to keep you healthier.
I think that's another interesting point.
Please.
If one day AI is being able to tell me what are the 100% right decision for me as a human, should I always take it? If today I go out, I actually feel like a hamburger, but my AI assistant tell me you should having salad.
Yeah.
So in which extent there should be some kind of my free will and some
of course. I think you should be able to turn it off and tell it, look, it's my birthday today, I'm having chocolate cake. But for those who want it, there is a chance for you to do it. This is the difference between intrinsic motivation, like I'm doing this for myself, right? I want to be as healthy as I can, or extrinsic, like I'm being told by this doctor, my spouse, or my AI to do this, and I don't want to. But it's important for you to know.
But I see this also linked to earlier you mentioned the positive mindset, right?
Of course.
How we see ourselves in the future, 10, 20, 100 years, is going to pull us to making the decision today. In Chinese, we have a saying to say you can't tell the summer or the winter look like because they don't live until the seasons of the winter. I feel it's the same like when we think about our future version of self. Did you see a positive future, or do you just see like, that's it, I'm giving up?
I'm so excited about where humanity is going, what we have. This is the most extraordinary time, right? And as you said early on, in the next 10 years, 2025 to 2035, we're going to see as much progress in that decade as we saw between 1925 and 2025. Back in 1925, 30% of the homes in the U.S. had electricity, 30% had phones. That was it. And we had basically the Ford Model T. We just discovered vitamin E and vitamin D. It's very early, very, very early. So, it's an exciting time.
But there has another thing I've been thinking about because I believe most of us or some of us being very privileged to live in the alpha cities, for example, London, New York, LA, or you are in the heart of the Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So all those information and technology seems like so normal for us, but it could take 10 to 20 years, travel to a smaller village. People don't incorporate this technology that much.
I totally get it. Here's the great news, even for them, right? Our smartphones, 98% of the world is covered by some version of the internet. And the best AI doctors in the future will be free. And so this information will be accessible at minimal cost eventually to everyone. What we need is to be able to gather the data. So we have a future of wearables, right? So I've got my continuous glucose monitor here. I'm wearing my Oura Ring, my Apple Watch. I have a large investment fund called Bold Longevity Growth, and we invest in longevity-related technologies and exponential technologies. Eventually, we will have implantables, inside-ables, measuring everything about us. Very cheap costs. And then all that data goes to your AI on your phone in the cloud. And if you want the information, it can give it to you. It can catch disease in the beginning when it is most curable and easiest to deal with, right? When's the best time to find cancer? When it's at the very beginning. It's like when's the first time to fight a wildfire is when the bush just caught on fire.
That is beautiful. Like, again, I really believe proximity is a power. Like you said, our medical system is a quite old system, and
Yes.
we are more towards sick care rather than health care.
Correct.
When I listen to those stories, I was like, gosh, those information are free. You just upload it. It doesn't cost you a penny. But 1 minute of decision change, you save someone's life.
Yeah.
And in Chinese medicine, we have a different sort of rating system for what is a best doctor. The most reputable doctor in Asian Chinese philosophy, they are worst doctor because they can only save you from the death. But they are very big reputation because, wow, they bring people from miracles, right? And then the best doctor is actually goes to when you're around them, you're never able to get sick because they can see your face,
aura,
you
yeah.
see everything, and they tell you or they don't take credit of saving you. So that's what I really, really believe what you guys are doing here. Like,
Yeah, the goal is to maintain your peak health, right? Your peak vitality. A lot of this, and we'll go back, I mentioned that, we sequence your full genome, all 3.2 billion letters from your mom and your dad. People think, well, listen, my parents died in their mid-70s, or they died over 100, so I've got good genes or bad genes. The studies that have been done have indicated that your genetics, at the high end, genetics account for 30% of your longevity, which means 70% is up to you. At the other end, a large study done said genetics only account for 7% of your longevity potential. And so what's the other 70% or the other 93%? It's your lifestyle. And lifestyle is about your sleep. Are you getting true restful sleep where your brain is able to detoxify and revitalize? I'm extremely careful about what I let into my body. I'm equally careful to what I let into my body as what I let into my mind, like who I talk to, what do I listen to, what do I watch, what do I read. All of that is constantly shaping my neural net, my AI in my brain, so to speak, right? And so, we can talk about this, but it's really about bringing enough protein to maintain muscle mass. It means minimizing sugar, which is a neuroinflammatory and a cardiac inflammatory, and then exercise. I will go to the gym this afternoon. I try and get a good hour, weight workout at least 5 days a week. And then it's sleep, getting a minimum of 7 hours, a goal of 8 hours. So sleep, diet, exercise, mindset, and then the supplements and medications that I take, right? So I've got, my 85 pills a day, which is, my mom says you're crazy. Do you know what those are? Anyway.
how do you even get started? Because I'm just thinking you must have built up over the years.
I have built up over the years. And in my longevity guidebook, there's a chapter on meds and supplements, and I talk about my logical construct, why I take what I take. It's not for everybody, but you also want to measure what's going on in your physiology. Like, for example, my last blood test had my vitamin D levels above where they should be. So I backed off on my vitamin D K2 that I'm taking. And so I'm constantly measuring and adjusting. Like you said, sort of chief guinea pig here, right? So what I do is not for everybody, but I do this so I can learn and teach.
Many times when I see you do new experiment, I can imagine your team will hold the horses, please don't do it. Because you said about that pill bot, and you said you want to swallow it, but your team...
At the summit this year, we had a great technology demonstration. A gastroenterologist and a technologist had built this very small, what they call, like you said, pill bot, which is a set of cameras and motors in something the size of a large magnesium pill. You swallow it, and then remotely you can drive it around your stomach, and you can look at the surface, and it's a way of very quickly checking out your GI tract. And so it's great. It's great technology and very useful. And I was going to do it live on stage, and my team is like, "Do not do that. You're on stage for 10 hours that day. I don't want you doing that in the beginning of the day." So I didn't. But listen, I have two 13-year-old boys, and I want to see them as grandparents. I want to see as much of the future as I can. So I am always measuring high reward, low risk opportunities.
Yes, actually, I would love to talk more about your limitless mindset, how you're always driven by your curiosity and everything you do with passion. How do you design your mind or design your lifestyle to trigger yourself to be such a person?
I'll say, first of all, when I go to sleep at night, I focus on what are the three things I'm most grateful for from that day. Gratitude is so important. When I wake up in the morning, I give thanks for the chance to support and help people, and I'm excited for the day ahead. I consider life a tremendous blessing, and I want to make the most of it. The most important thing is I love what I do. I'll be able to have these kinds of conversations, to be able to work on building new companies and finding incredible entrepreneurs and supporting them in their journeys through my, I have an AI venture fund and a longevity venture fund. I support a number of entrepreneurs out there. The XPRIZE Foundation that launches these large, beautiful global competitions to solve big problems, or building companies like FountainLife. So I'm having a blast. And if I don't love doing something, sometimes I have to do it because of its obligation, or it's something which is maybe not, we don't want to do this, but in the long term, it's important to support a friend or family and so forth. But most of the time, I'm doing what I love. And when you're driven by that kind of intrinsic motivation, I think it's the best thing. I don't work, I play. Every day, I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. What's going on in humanoid robotics? What's going on in biotechnology? What's going on in AI? I mean, it's the most exciting time ever to be alive.
But when we take a look back into beginning stages, we are born with certain labels, or we put on ourselves. So to find something you're truly passionate about, to wake up by love, by your dream.
Both my parents were born on an island in Greece called Lesbos, Mytilene, in the town of Mytilene. My mom came over to the U.S. when she was 10. My dad grew up on the island and left the island when he went to medical school for the first time. All his friends wanted him to be a priest or teacher. That was what all of them were doing. He said, no, I want to become a doctor. And I'm so thankful for that. My mom came back one summer, met him. They were engaged in a week. And then he followed her to the U.S. And so I grew up in a medical family. My dad was an OBGYN, obstetrician and gynecologist. My mom ran his office. And it was always assumed from my childhood that I'd become a doctor. But something happened when I was around 8, 9 years old, which was the Apollo program was going on. And so I was born in 1961, and the Apollo 11 landing occurred in July of 1969. And then Star Trek, an amazing vision of the future. Those two things shaped my life. Those two things got me passionate about the future. And on one side, my parents wanted me to become a doctor. On the other side, no, I want to become a space entrepreneur. I want to become an astronaut. I teach, as you know, at the Abundance Summit. I talk about having a massive transformative purpose in MTP, something that wakes you up in the morning, keeps you going through the night, that's emotionally driven. It's driven by human emotion. And my first MTP, I didn't call it that back then, was opening up space commercially. And that was in college and graduate school, even though I was going through medical school to make my parents happy. Like literally, I promised that I'd become a doctor. And
You're working on a secret project on the weekend.
I went through medical school, but on the weekends and nights I was working on my space projects. And I finally graduated medical school. But my fourth year of medical school, I was running something called the International Space University, and I was running a rocket company. It was a long story.
In college?
In medical school. I barely graduated medical school. I negotiated with my dean to let me graduate. Long story short, as soon as I graduated, I didn't do internship and residency. I went and started running my rocket company full time. That was my passion, my purpose of opening up space. And I was very lucky early on to find that passion. One of the things that when I go to schools and teach, I ask the kids, how many of you here know your purpose in life? Know why you're on this planet? Know what you need to pursue? There's a great quote by Mark Twain who says there are two important days in your life, the day you were born and the day that you found out why. The majority of all people don't know why early on. I consider myself lucky. Fast forward, a couple of decades, and I'm in the first year of Singularity University, which I'd started with Ray Kurzweil, and I have 80 graduate students from around the world, top universities, who had come and competed 100 to 1 to get there. So I have 80 incredible superstars from 30 countries. And I asked naively the question, who knows your purpose in life, expecting all of them would raise their hands. And only a third of them did. And I was shocked. I was like, you made it this far and you don't know your purpose in life? I said, listen, for those of you who know your purpose, amazing. The rest of you, you have a new reason for being here this summer. Your mission is to find your purpose in life, to find your massive transformative purpose. And because once you know that, it drives you in an incredible way.
I realized that we all set up to do things we thought we would, and just following the great pattern of, you need to graduate from school, you need to do this and that. That's actually how I see in our medical system.
Yeah.
A lot of doctors, they are great at their craft, but they are trained because they thought they are supposed to do that. But is there information up to date for what's really, really going on in the frontier? That's not really necessary.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that everybody was born to do one special thing only they are born for, but it takes a lot of courage and trial and failure to find it.
Absolutely. And you have to be willing to let go of other things. But when you find it, I built an AI model, purposefinder.ai, that people can use to go do it. And this purposefinder.ai will ask you a series of questions like, what did you want to be as a kid? If I gave you $1 billion to change the world, what would you do with it? It's the end of your life. Looking back, what have you accomplished? I mean, it's a whole bunch of questions. It takes about 10 minutes, and it will help you shape an MTP. But ultimately, that massive transformative purpose needs to be connected with a deep emotional energy, because doing anything big and bold in the world is hard. And if you don't have that emotional energy that carries you through the day, you'll give up when it gets hard.
I think when you start a space project, it's extremely early.
It was crazy, yes.
And I remember you tell a story about you trying to convince Elon Musk to donate the fund to your prize rather than start. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I was living on the East Coast running the XPRIZE and a company called Space Adventures and Zero G. And I got a call one day from a guy named Bill Gross, who was on stage with us this year. And he said, I just raised $1 billion and I want to run a private moon mission. Would you come and run it for me? Long story. It was called Blast Off. And I have a podcast on it on my Moonshots channel with Bill. That was 2000. And I pulled together an amazing team. We were building lunar lander technologies. But then the .com splashed down, right? And one day I got a call from Bill and Larry Gross saying, I've got someone to introduce you to that I think could fund our moon mission. And he introduced me to Elon. And this is back in 2001, early 2001, and became friends. And I was trying to get Elon to fund my first XPRIZE for spaceflight. It was going to be a $10 million XPRIZE for the first team that could build a spaceship, go up to 100 kilometers, land, and do it again within 2 weeks. And I was pitching Elon on this. He had just sold PayPal to eBay. And he had a passion about the environment and a passion about space. He was going to go start a rocket company. I said, don't start a rocket company. All the rocket companies so far have blown up. How can you bet on the right one And I said, instead, why don't you fund it, make the Musk XPRIZE for $10 million, and you'll get all the teams competing to win your money. Long story short, he did not do that. Amazing woman, Anusha Ansari, funded the $10 million prize, and we've now launched $600 million in XPRIZes. But Elon went on to start SpaceX against all the odds, and he barely succeeded, right? He had 3 launch failures in a row, and he had to borrow money to make the 4th launch attempt, which he did, and then got a contract from NASA. He reminds me that I tried to talk him out of building SpaceX. I said, thank God I didn't do it, because what you've done is amazing.
What do you see as a common trait to become a billionaire or to become such an impactful person?
It's passion-driven work. I think, if you look at most of the successful people, they didn't become successful overnight. I mean, they are 10-year journeys. And you're going to fail 100 times on the way to success. And picking yourself up off the ground and saying, okay, this was horrible, but I still need to continue, is what it takes. So again, to use Elon as the example, he had 3 failures in a row of the Falcon 1 launch vehicle. It's only the 4th one. And in that same time frame, 2008, he's going through a divorce. Tesla is out of money. And so he hits rock bottom. But he's driven, and let's be clear, he's also brilliant. Intelligence is insufficient. Intelligence is critical, but insufficient. Bill Gross gave a great talk. You can see it on TED or on DLD, and I've done a podcast with him on it, that I said, okay, what are the main attributes of the most successful entrepreneurs or the most successful companies? Was it that the company had the most funding or the most seasoned entrepreneur? What was it? And when he did the analysis, what he found was the companies that succeeded, the majority of the times, was about timing. It was a company that was alive long enough to intercept good luck, which means not giving up.
I believe in luck, but I believe in you try 100 times, then you have a better chance to get a shot of that lucky moment.
That's a great point. Yeah, you don't give up. You work hard.
Yeah, when we talk about purpose and passion and why, what are your driving force?
First of all, one thing that I realize is you don't need to have a single purpose or passion for your entire life. But if you want to do something significant, you need to be willing to commit for a decade, because it takes a decade to go through the process of learning and finding what you want to do and getting people on board and then creating a brand and then developing the products. It doesn't happen overnight. You can be lucky, and sometimes it can happen quick, but the majority of people take a decade. So I say, okay, if you're going to develop your MTP and a moonshot, you be prepared for a decade of effort. So this is something that you care enough about that you're willing to go for a decade. It's big enough and bold enough, and the people that you're impacting you care enough about. So space was very much my purpose, my moonshots. I built companies and projects, a university, all of these things based on space. There was a moment in time when I read Ray Kurzweil's book, The Singularity is Near. I know about computation networks, AI, robotics, 3D printing, synbio, nanotechnology, and so forth, but I'd never seen it presented the way Ray did. And I said, I love space, but this emergence and convergence of exponential technologies are going to change everything. And it's going to enable us to solve the world's biggest problem. So I approached Ray about creating what became Singularity University. My next major MTP was about helping entrepreneurs positively impact the lives of 1 billion people. How do I find amazing entrepreneurs, educate them about these exponential technologies, and get them to focus not just on making money, which is fine, but actually solving the world's biggest problems? I like to say the world's biggest problems are the world's biggest business opportunities. Want to become a billionaire, help 1 billion people, right? That correlation is huge. And we launched Singularity University. At the same time, I shifted XPRIZE from just focus on space to a focus on solving the world's problems. And that was my next decade. At that point, my MTP shifted to inspiring and guiding entrepreneurs to create a hopeful, compelling, and abundant future. So a lot of the work I've been doing is how do I help entrepreneurs create a hopeful, compelling, and abundant future? What does that mean? People need to have hope, right? Without hope, nothing. You need to have a compelling future. Like, I'm excited about my future, my family's future in the future. And then creating abundance is about uplifting every man, woman, and child on the planet. So that has been 10, 15 years, my third MTP. And now my fourth one is around helping scientists and entrepreneurs create the breakthroughs that will give us longevity, escape velocity. How do I help us create decades of health, right? So I surround each of these. So my longevity MTP is surrounded by FountainLife and by a $101 million health span XPRIZE and by my venture fund and my books and my podcast. So my goal is really give people this incredible vision of the future.
You are one of those Renaissance guys that you are interested in so many things. How did you manage your focus?
So Elon was on my board of directors for the XPRIZE for a number of years early on. And one day he called me and said, Peter, listen, I'm sorry, I have to resign. I said, what's up? He goes, listen, I have to focus. I have to focus on SpaceX and Tesla to make them succeed. I'm dropping off of everything. Now, of course, since then, he has Neuralink and Boring Company and 14 kids, and now he's in the U.S. government, so he's not focused on that. But I understand that need for focus. And some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world do one thing really well. Like Travis was all in on Uber and now all in on cloud kitchens. I'm a little bit jealous about that, but I've always been multi-dimensional in my passions. And the only way I can do this successfully is I get excited about an area. I will come up with the idea for the company. I will write initial business plan. I will raise capital. I will hire an amazing CEO and then become chairman of the company. You know, when the company's working well, that's great. I've got 5 or 6 companies I take that role in. From FountainLife, it's Bill Kapp is the CEO. For the abundance community, it's Julie. For my venture funds, it's Timur or Sergey or Dave Blunden. And I get to come in and say, okay, where are we going next? I have an ability to bring people to support those companies. But they only work because there's an amazing CEO focused on each of them.
What I love about your work, Peter, is you have done so many things. You travel a lot and you see a lot of people. You either directly or indirectly help to form or help to raise funds in many, many companies. When you zoom into those successful companies, because many entrepreneurs, they could have great ideas, but how they start to raise a fund, all those process, because I know you're quite well known for really good at fundraising.
Yeah, and I created a program called Fund Your Purpose to teach what I know in that area. I look at it now as a venture capitalist. Who am I backing? I'm backing really incredible entrepreneurs who are driven by purpose and passion. The most predictive element of your future is what you've done in the past. Now, if you're just beginning, your job is to create a track record. If you're successful, it's where you're going to take the relationships you have, the reputation you have, the capital you have, where you're going to build it, and go with it. I think fundraising is an art form. When I invest in someone or someone invests in me, there's a transfer of trust. They look into your eyes, they believe your purpose, your passion, your commitment to this. You're not going to give up. You're going to do everything you can to have it succeed, and they're going to back you. In the early days as an entrepreneur, that's all they're backing. They're you. It's not because that's what you have. You know, there's more capital flowing than ever before. The other thing that's going on right now is the average age of people starting companies is getting younger and younger because the tools are so powerful. I'm seeing unicorn billion-dollar companies started with a small handful of people. So it's a very exciting time to be an entrepreneur.
If you give one longevity, lifespan, health span advice for our audience, I feel you could have
so a lot of this is in your control. You know, Fountain is great, you know, not dying from something stupid and optimizing your future health. But there's so much you can do for effectively no money. Right. And again, I wrote that in detail in my longevity guidebook. It comes down to the basics. If you're not optimizing around diet, sleep, exercise, and mindset, that's where you need to start. Diet is really around whole plants, minimizing sugar, It's around getting enough protein for muscle, right? So when I'm building muscle, a gram per pound of body weight, so I'm doing 150 grams of protein a day. I care about what I put in my body in the same way that I care about, again, what I listen to, who I talk to, what I spend time reading. Your longevity diet is important. I prioritize sleep. When I was in medical school, I used to joke, I'll sleep when I'm dead, but minimizing sleep will kill you. And we're learning so much. And I've got some great podcasts with Dr. Matt Walker, who spoke to us this year, and you've heard a number of times, who's brilliant about sleep. I care more and more about sleep now because of cognitive clarity and minimizing neurodegenerative disease in the future. Probably the number one pro-longevity thing you can do is getting exercise, building muscle mass. It's getting into the gym at least 4 days a week. The difference between 3 days and 4 days is significant. And there's a whole slew of other things you can do, but it's caring about your health.
I love this otherwise. Thank you for your time today, Peter.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for spreading the word.
Yes, I feel I can keep talking to you forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, grateful.
Thank you for watching this new episode of the HumanWare Project. So that we can have more amazing guests like Peter, please subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. Thank you.